What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday. We got a special guest tonight, but let's welcome everybody to the Sports Lounge. Yeah, I'm excited for tonight. Uh, we got a guy here, a part of the Cowboy Cast, East and West Football. Just recently learned he's from the East Coast. Through conversation. This whole time I thought he was from Texas, but he's actually. Uh,
Oh, don't get it wrong. I'm
oh,
from Texas. I
as
just
I
reside.
did, yeah. So we're gonna be chopping it up. We're gonna be talking about Cowboy stuff here, and everything that's been transpiring from the past season and going into this new season. We're gonna be talking about some exciting things. But before we get there, let me give a shout out to our sponsors real quick. Black and P Living Water. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. You could get your Black and P Living Water at www.blackandp.com. Use the promo code the Sports Lounge podcast to get 35% off. The other one is Cali
Cali
Cali,
built graphics.
where you can get all of your stuff embroidered, signs, things like that, all the great stuff that you can get for your businesses to grow your businesses, and you get a percentage off there as well. And last but not least, Number One Sports Fan, get all your memorabilia there at Number One Sports Fans. It's Number Sports Fan, and now your NBA stuff. I think that just rolled in over there as well. So if you're definitely looking forward to some basketball, go visit the Number One Sports Fan and let them know that the Sports Lounge Media sent you there. But let's get show, and we have our special guest Javier. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Just hey, I appreciate the invite. I think it was a long time coming. I think this has happened back and forth. Hey, man, you need to come on, but finally, I'm on, man, and I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're excited to have you on. And what's going on, Marky Mark?
Nothing much. Just another lovely Tuesday night, and definitely excited to talk about this. Again, Javier, thank you. Appreciate you hopping on here. It's always good to have other people, that are enthusiasts and fans. That actually don't just look at things as a fan specifically, but as an analyst and as everything that you guys do. We follow you guys. The Sports Sounds follows you guys, and we're always kind of poking jabs when you guys are on going live and stuff like that. It's always fun, but you guys are real, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, well, we follow you heavily, man. Like I do. I have an award with you guys. I mean, I mean, I don't want to boast or not, man. I got awards with you.
No,
But
man. No, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, man, for sure. Super blessed, man. Thanks.
so let's get right into it. What I want to, obviously tonight's show we are going to focus on the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I know you're a little bummed about it, Mikey, but it is what it is.
nah, it's
Uh,
all good, brother.
but hey, this is what I want to ask you. Javier, this last season, Dallas ended up going in as a 2 seed. What did you see them lacking to go farther than what they did in the playoffs?
Number one, I think the true fans, right? Everybody claims to be a true Cowboy fan, but the true fans that watch the film and watch the all 22 and kind of dig deep into the Dallas Cowboys, we had a feeling for the majority of us that stopping the run was just not we couldn't do it. And the only reason we got away with it is because the majority of our schedule we played teams that we were inferior to.
Hmm.
But when we played the better teams, they kind of realized that, up front, as far as the linebackers are concerned, we didn't have true off the ball linebackers.
Right.
They were just undersized, and they took advantage of those things. And I've always said it, when we're about to play a good team, if they run the ball on us, it's over. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And we weren't very. I was enthused about the Green Bay Packer game, but I wasn't at the same time because I know they could run the ball with the running backs that they had. But I mean, I think that was the biggest thing, man. Is just we couldn't stop the run, and I think as you guys know, you hear it all the time. We always start slow in the playoffs. Other than that Tampa game last year, we always start slow. So I don't know, man. All I can say is that we start slow, and the linebackers were just we just didn't have them.
Right.
That's hard to kind of like I guess swallow when we talked all season that this has been Dak's best season yet, and then all of a sudden we're talking about him not scoring the football. Now we're talking about them not capable of slowing Green Bay down, whether if they did or not. But he didn't score points.
Yeah, I mean, it started probably, and that's the thing they always do. I don't know. I can't put my finger on something, and that's what I said. They always start slow. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's jitters or, but I've always said this on the show. 2 years ago, Mike McCarthy said that his team was not ready to play the San Francisco 49ers. He said his team was nervous. And to me, that's kind of why would you air that out as a head coach?
Right.
He said that. It's your job to get the team ready. So to me, I don't know what it is about that offense that makes them start off slow. If I could put my finger on it, and I knew, I wish I could, but they just start off slow. I don't know why. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we started off slow. We didn't start scoring points until the very end. And to be quite honest, I think it was them trying to, play double safeties and play dink and dunk game until they scored and waste the time. To be honest, that's why we scored points at the very end. But I don't know, man. I think they figured out Mike McCarthy, especially the Buffalo game. I think they used that game plan for the playoffs, and they said, "Hey, we're going to take away what you do, and you're going to have to either adjust on the fly, or if you don't, then you're going to lose this game." And I think that's what they did. They copycatted the Bills' plan, if you look at it, and they just couldn't adjust.
Yeah, I want to go back to Dak again and say that you guys had literally the landscape to get to San Francisco. Like when we talked before, and I was on your chat and we're chatting, we were saying that obviously Philly's not going to get there, and we're talking about how they dropped off. And I said if we lose this next game, we're talking about in season division things that are going on that could possibly put us there or put you there. And I said, I was telling you guys, well, if you guys make it to the 2 seed, that's you guys playing at home. You guys are undefeated. I mean, I think you guys are undefeated. What, 2 seasons at home, right? And
Yeah.
so knowing that, and then you have Green Bay coming in as the 7 seed, it was like almost like, bro, like this is your time. And the point differential too of Dak playing at home versus on the road is significantly different. So I was in belief that Green Bay coming to you guys would be a time for Dak to really show out. And I'm going back to Dak because we pay. I mean, you guys paid Dak. You guys put all your pressure on Dak. He has to perform. He has to get you guys over the hump. So my question is now is, are we saying Dan Quinn is a problem, Dak is a problem, or McCartney is a problem? Because if it's a coaching problem and it's not Dak, when is Dak going to perform?
See that, and to me, that's the thing about Dak is that he does have that issue about big time games
Right.
when they count. I'm gonna be honest about it. Like I don't know if he gets in his head or what the situation is, but he does not play. He doesn't play well. And how do you fix that? That's something that you have to fix internally yourself, because at the end of the day, like you said, he was commanding this offense. He was doing very well. But then when it came down to crunch time, man, he couldn't make it happen. He couldn't make the adjustments. But this is my thing, and going back, I think this is more than just a Dak thing. Personally, me being a Cowboy fan since I was born and just watching through all the years when I was little, watching the Super Bowl, watching everything, I think to me, and you have to look at some of these teams, right? And what their identity is. Because what really is the Cowboys' identity? Well,
And that,
what I don't think anybody can say this is their identity, right? The Niners have an identity. They're gonna run the ball and they're gonna play hard-nosed defense, right? That's what they do.
yeah. And
The
check down.
Chiefs, the Chiefs have, hey, in Mahomes we trust, right? And in reality, their defense got a lot better this year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
my thing,
they won them. They won them the Super Bowl for sure.
yeah, and so my thing is the Cowboys. I don't think they have an identity. So with that, I'm gonna go along with culture. I don't think there's a culture established with the Dallas Cowboys to make sure that they're a contender for the future. And what I mean by that is who's the leader on that team?
When I look at that team, I think it's Parsons.
You think it's Parsons, right?
I don't even think it's Dak. Like
Right.
there's times where Dak is not, but you always hear, for some reason, you always hear Parsons somewhere through the either through the media channels, through through the morning shows, somewhere. He's always speaking out. He's a very vocal person.
But my thing is what when the game's going on and you need your team to perform, who's rallying the troops?
That's true
Well,
too.
that's the
There's
big
no,
thing. So it doesn't matter. You can have Parsons as your, basically doing the rally cry, getting everyone together. But the problem is you have to have a defensive player and you have to have an offensive player. And that is where they struggled. Their defense, it wasn't that it was horrible. Me being a Packer fan, I'll tell you this. The Packers shouldn't have been where they were at. They shouldn't have been. They happened to get, okay, all of a sudden Jordan Love started performing when they performed, and they did decent. But that's what happened. That offense did not show up. One of the comments that is on here, it says when both offensive and defensive coaches change the script and do the opposite of what gave you success. Man, that's probably one of the best comments I can, that summarizes what happened with Dallas in the playoffs. What made them
yeah,
successful, it took them away. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to, it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And that's the hardest part. Um, you can
I
you
don't
can
think
go
that.
ahead.
I don't even think that wouldn't even matter if they flipped the script.
no, I think to me
And
they were I think they were outcoached, they were outplayed, they were out schemed. That's just what it came down to. Mike McCarthy probably thought he can go in this game and run the same offense that he did before, and he got and Green Bay copycat the Buffalo Bills, two high safeties, took away the middle of the field and the outside of the field because they like running the corner, and that's what they did. And the Cowboys couldn't adjust. But my thing is, I go back to the culture thing, right?
Hmm.
Like, there's no physicality on that defense. There's none.
Yeah. When Van Der Esch was there, there was.
Yeah, when Van Der Esch played, there was a little bit, but I'm saying there's nobody coming down the line. There's no, I should say, Brian Dawkins, right? There's no Jamal Adams. There's no, that type of player that can come down the line and just show 'em what business means, right? And there's nobody in the Cowboys that can do that. And so when you don't have a team that has a culture and that has that mentality, like the Legion of Boom, you tell me that's physicality.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
You
and
know,
that's my point. There aren't players like that on the Cowboys other than probably maybe one or two, if that. Not everybody plays like that. So to me, I think the culture has a lot to do with it. I think number two is coaching. Because to me, let's say, let's be honest. If you don't have off the ball linebackers that you need, right? Why wouldn't you adjust to a 5-man defensive line?
100%.
Why, if you're good, I might as well just die by stopping the run and live by them passing the ball on me. I'd rather do that. But when you have both of those things going on, as a defensive player, you cannot predict what's the next play. You can't.
Yeah. Let me
The,
ask you
the,
this. Oh, go ahead.
the big thing, not stopping the run, you had to look at, that game against Green Bay. Aaron Jones hadn't really been successful, going, spent a lot of times injured, stuff like that. Then all of a sudden he ended up becoming that primary back, of who he was. And so they were relying a lot on the run, and that's you're dead right. If you can't stop the run, what are you going to do? You don't have to worry about the long passes. You just have to worry about, hey, I got to run, tossing the pass here and there, and that's what they did. And if you're wearing out the defense like they did, when you don't have the players, if you look at it, Parsons realistically was he would, it's a good comment here from Alex. He put Parsons leads by example, not he wasn't a vocal leader during the games. It's
I've been saying, yeah.
you have to sit there and be like, you got to speak up, not just about what you play, but what you do. You what you say, and that's where they lacked. And it's for me, I just think that they've got a lot of improving, and they need to focus on defense. In this coming draft and free agency and all that stuff. But
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah. Before we start talking draft or whatever, I want to keep going back because I want to know: do you think that is Dak going to win you a Super Bowl? Do you believe that as a Cowboy fan? Do you think he is the guy that's going to take you over the hump and win a Super Bowl? Because right now, to me, as just an outside person looking in, he reminds me a lot like Tony Romo.
so I will say this. I'm the type of guy with Dak. So just so you have an understanding that I wanted the Cowboys to draft that Dak. So when they didn't draft him in the third round, I stopped watching the draft because I figured they weren't going to draft him. And then, lo and behold, my brother calls me and says, "Guess who they just drafted in the fourth round? Dak Prescott." I'm like, "Awesome." So you understand the backdrop, right? In my opinion, if Dak sits behind Romo, you're seeing in his third year probably the version of Dak you're seeing now this year. Unfortunately, he didn't have that privilege, right? So I'm going to tell you, I'm a big Dak fan. Now, given that, I'll say this. As of right now, I cannot see Dak being the guy to take us to a Super Bowl. I just can't. You know why? And this is the reason I say this. What have you shown me now? What does the NFL stand for? Not for long. What have you shown me now that makes me think that you can win a Super Bowl? Nothing. Because you have to be that guy when things are not going right and shoulder the load. You have to. And I don't think Dak can do that right now. Now, the problem with that is a lot of fans get upset because they're like, well, you're a Dak hater, you're a cop. No, I'm being real. And that's
Right.
the truth. Now,
Right.
if can Dak win a Super Bowl if he has the offense he has now and a number one defense? 100%. I think that he can win a Super Bowl. But he has to have that extra help. In my opinion, Dak needs to have that help. He has to have a great defense, which they right now, as anybody said, we said it all year, he didn't have a good defense. He
Yeah.
just didn't.
everyone knows what the biggest key is in the NFL. You have to have a run game. You got to have a defense. This year we saw the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. They might not have had a great, Pachenko, he ran hard. Mahomes, he knew how to get out of the pocket, and they had a defense. When you had the Legion
Chris
of Boom, you had Marshawn Lynch, and you had a defense, and that's a big key. I mean, you can't rely solely on, if you look at it quarterback wise, what quarterbacks that were heavy on the pass won Super Bowls? Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. That's it. In the last 20 years, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
But
I mean, Aaron Rodgers won one.
I'll go back to this, right? And I think Alex said it on the comments. He needs a run game. That's the other thing. Cowboys really didn't have a run game.
No.
Like
Tony,
they didn't run the ball very well.
They all of a sudden they got rid of Zeke.
Yeah,
Tony
that was
Pollard, he was not the answer.
Yeah. So my point to that is
it's
again,
no.
I go back to this. If you put the load on Dak Prescott himself, I don't think it can happen.
Yeah.
It's just not. He's not that type of player, unfortunately. Not that I hate Dak. That's just the truth, right? So, to me, I think you get a better version of Dak when you have a dominant run game, which sets up the pass. I mean, that's anybody in the NFL, right? Unless you're Patrick Mahomes and he's an anomaly. But that's my point to it. Is Dak needs the right storm, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
No, and to about the run game to talk about that. I mean, Tony Pollard had an awful game because he's not a number one back. He's a number two back. He's better off when you have Zeke Elliott in the game. No, and they don't even have to be Zeke. I'm only saying Zeke because Zeke was on the Cowboys. You've seen how magnificent Tony Pollard played off of somebody else. And I don't think that anywhere he goes, he could be a number one back because he's not. I strongly believe that you have to have that 1-2 punch, and he's that 1-2 punch. You bring Zeke back, and that's a whole different conversation. But I know Tony Pollard's out there testing free agency, right?
Yeah, he is. And so, Mike, I'll go back to say that, and we said that last year coming into the season. We
Yeah.
said we told every guys, as much as we love Pollard, he's not a number one running back. He's
Right.
just not, right? He needs a player that's going to pound that defensive line all the way through the fourth quarter, third quarter, whatever you want. And he's the guy. He's a home run hitter. That's what happens.
Takes it home,
But,
yeah, for sure.
but like we're just on the outside sitting in, and they make all the organizational changes, and they think Pollard's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And look what happens.
Yeah.
So, I agree, man. I don't think he's a number one running back.
Now, one of the questions on here: do you think a pick was wasted on Deuce Vaughn?
I mean,
What have we seen from Deuce Vaughn?
that's not very much, but then again, he hasn't played very much either. So to me, I think, in my opinion, I think he's a good player. I think it just depends on how you use him, right? And
Right.
you use him a lot. The Cowboys drafted him late in the draft. So, I mean, what do you really expect from that pick? Did you
Yeah.
really waste it?
Yeah. I mean, you're paying such a minimum amount of money for him. I agree with you on that. You're not really wasting a pick when you get him. I want to say he was he like fifth? I think he was like a sixth round pick.
Pick, yeah.
You know, but if you look at the success of a lot of these teams, they do have that 1-2 punch. Um, and the hard part is when you lose a player. Look at what happened when San Francisco lost McCaffrey, or sorry, lost Debo. McCaffrey couldn't hold the load. They ended up losing those, what was it, 3 games in a row, 4 games in a row, something like that.
You got 3 games
Yeah.
in a row.
Yep.
You couldn't sit there. It's like you can't rely solely on one back anymore. Green Bay, same thing. You had Aaron Jones and you got AJ Dillon. All of a sudden, Aaron Jones goes out. AJ Dillon, everyone's like, oh, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid. He had one good game. And all of a sudden, it was like, nope, couldn't handle the workload. You got to have a power back and you got to have an agility back. That is what you got to have, to be successful. And you're seeing it, amongst, especially in the NFC. One of the other questions, kind of go back to defense real quick. Van Der Esch, do you think they should get rid of Van Der Esch?
They'll be stupid if they got rid of him.
I don't think. I think, in my opinion, and it's not even getting rid of him. I honestly think LV needs to retire. With that, I think a third neck injury, second injury, like those neck things don't ever go away.
Oh no, that's more than he's had 2 alone in the NFL, and I want to say he had 3 in college.
Yep.
So
that's what
he's
I'm
like
saying.
he's like either 4 or 5 right now.
So to me, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think you bring LVE back. That's just my opinion. Just because of the injuries, and I don't know if you want to deal with that again for another year.
I don't think as a player, you should have enough sense, to be honest, of saying, it's time to hang him up.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
I
could say,
can't.
you could say the same thing about Tua, though. He should
Oh,
have
I
hung
could
up.
say, yeah, but
But
if
he
you,
Wait,
the
but
catch is,
my
you,
point is my point is this. But he came back and played a full season, and he played a great season. Obviously, they got, eliminated, whatever, but he still played a great season.
because they
I
gave him protection on that line.
And I believe that the same thing could happen for anybody else. I mean, he could.
Yeah.
What if you guys get rid of him to somebody else, and they have supporting cast where he doesn't have to do too much? I mean, I guess that's kind of like where we're at with a lot of these teams. Is like you need that supporting cast so that you're not doing too much, so that you can kind of like skate your way to the Super Bowl like Brock Purdy. But no, I'm just.
I think, to me, for LVE, it just kind of depends on the Cowboys. I mean, if you're a general manager, would you keep LVE? He's gonna cost you $2 million.
How much?
$2 million.
2 million.
I don't keep him because it's too much of a liability issue.
Yeah, there is, right? You're right. So to me, I think the Cowboys do keep him. They bring in linebackers and they just kind of let the chips fall where they fall, right? But
Yeah.
to me, LVE, I think LVE with $2 million, that's cheap for
It
probably, you know what I mean? So they probably do keep him, but at the same time, to me, I think LVE's kind of lost a step, and I don't think he can cover running backs as well as he used to be.
Put him in rotation. Put him in rotation. You know what I
that's
mean?
and
Not like low, just something
yeah.
light and where
So
makes a difference.
so to me, I would probably keep him just because he's cheap and he might be insurance, I guess you could say, if you do bring in linebackers and he's a backup or insurance. That's the only way I probably see him come staying.
All right. So, what do the Cowboys need to do this offseason? Obviously, we know Pollard's out there. He's, they aren't going to franchise tag him. You have a very heavy running back market. Obviously, if you know you're going to go after a guy like Saquon, you're looking at anywhere from 8 to 10 million a season. But he can't stay, healthy.
Can't stay healthy either, though.
So, see, this is the thing about that, right? And I'm not going to put names out there. I just need to know that you need a veteran running back, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One that's a power runner. I don't care who it is. I'm not going to name names because I really don't care at this point. But also, you got to think about how much are they going to cost?
Right.
That what's going to cost you, right? Because we're hearing rumors about that getting 60 million. So we for sure need a veteran running back. Pollard is out of the question because
You think he's gonna get paid?
Huh?
You think he really gonna get paid?
I don't think he's going to get paid like what are we talking about here? We're
You
talking
said
about 12 million?
No, with Dak.
With
No,
that,
Dak. With Dak getting paid, I don't know what that's going to look like. Is what I'm saying.
yeah.
So it depends on that running back and how much they want and who's going to be that running back. But we do need a better running back, a really
Yeah.
good in the tackle, in between the tackles, running back, and then from there you have to draft another running back. You have to draft a running back. So with those two things, those are kind of the things that you need, right? And you just said running back, or you said total, like what they need total for.
What do
Yeah.
they need total? Obviously, we know they
Okay.
need running back
So
because now they got
obviously running
nothing.
back, you
The
have
hunt.
to go get
For the hunt.
you have to go get a veteran linebacker that fits Zimmer's scheme. Period. You have to get a veteran linebacker. That's number one. And then maybe you could draft one, right?
Mhm.
This now when I say that, I'm not saying the tier 4, tier 3 that the Cowboys have been doing these past years. I'm talking about a top-notch linebacker. You go get him. Whoever that guy is, whoever Zimmer thinks is the guy, right? Because we got to remember, we still have Overshown that got hurt in the beginning of the season.
Mhm.
Overshown from Texas, he was playing like I think he might have been the starting linebacker if he wouldn't have got hurt as a rookie. So we still got him. Now I would get a veteran and probably draft another off-the-ball true linebacker, right? Um, Defensive tackle. You need another big monster. You have to. Like that's just a given, right? And I'm not talking about um, an undersized tackle. I'm talking a big boy, just like Micah Parsons, 330, somebody that takes up double teams, all that. Like we need that player, not just Hankins. We need another defensive tackle. To me, I think depending on what you do with Gilmore, because I don't know what they're going to do with Gilmore. In my opinion, you have to go after a nickel cornerback. And the reason I say a nickel cornerback is because to me, I think Bland has cemented himself as a starter on the outside. So you got Diggs, you got Bland, and you need a nickel corner. So you need another nickel corner, a linebacker, defensive tackle. Depending on what happens with your defensive ends, you might need another one. Because we got free agents, right? So you
Right.
might need another one because I think DeMarcus Lawrence needs to probably kick in inside a lot more than the outside, in my opinion. So maybe another.
He's getting too slow to be on the outside.
Yep. So another defensive end, um, and then running back, and then I think you need another wide receiver, man. In my opinion, because Gallup's probably going to be traded for the amount that you paid him and what productivity he gave. I don't think it's worth the money, so he's gone. And then lastly, in my opinion, the offensive line. I think you need a center. I love Biotish, good player, but I just think you need if you look at the teams that went to the championship, look at their centers.
Oh.
They're probably some of the best in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, you need a center, man. Even look at last year. Look at Kelsey. Like, you need a great center, man. And I think the Cowboys are probably missing a good center to make the offensive line even better because their run game was horrific last year, in my opinion.
They, so
That's a lot.
that's the
I know
big
that's a
thing.
lot. That's a lot of players, but
Yeah, you've got, you're talking about all three levels of defense that they got to have help on. Yeah, they're going to be um, relying a lot on free agency in the draft, but they're
Yeah.
definitely. I don't see them winning the division again next year, um, unless if honestly Philly falls off and does what they did this last year. Um, Alex, I agree with you. I don't see Gallup sticking around. I agree with you, Javier, on that. It For me, that one, he's not worth the money. He's not even worth half of the money that he got. And so I think that's going to be a struggle. So you definitely have to add some wide receiver help. But the catch is they are drafting all the way at 24.
So so now be careful, because have you seen this wide receiver class?
Oh, I've seen the wide receiver class,
It's pretty deep.
and
Yes.
the problem is though is there's a lot of teams up there that need help at what they're just all around in
There,
the NFL.
there's a lot more wide receivers than you think. I'm just throwing that out there. There's a lot of them.
You know, but do they? Okay, so and let's just say the first two rounds. Let's go round 1 and 2. Do you think they stick with defense since that's where they need the majority of the help?
I think the Cowboys are going to do Cowboy things, and they're going to fill as many holes as they can in free agency to take the best player available.
I
That's
like
what's
that
going to
answer.
happen.
I like
That's
that
what's going
answer.
to happen. That's what the Cowboys do. Now, they might change that and do something different, but I'm just telling you that's what they do.
All right, so we now know, we don't think Dak is going to win. Can take you guys to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they got to have a number one defense to do that. They're going to struggle mightily because they don't have a run game. Do you think this is going to be McCarthy's last season if he doesn't do well?
So I'm gonna I don't know if I want to say, but I'll paint the picture for you, right? The Cowboys have to play the AFC North, Mike.
Oh, I know. I'm a Philly fan.
So that's that's a tough schedule.
Our first week, they're talking about we play Browns.
So we're talking about the AFC North. Then the Cowboys have to play the Lions again, and they have to play the 49ers. Then they have to play Tampa. I'm not saying depending on what happens at quarterback, they're not an easy team. And the Saints, which is not an easy team either. I don't care who you are. I want to say the Niners beat them 13-10, I think, this last year. So they're not an easy team to win over. So you're talking about 4, 5, 6, potentially 8 teams that are tough. I think Washington's going to be a lot better than they have been. You got Philly. That's always, it's always usually a 1-1, right? The Giants, depending on them, I don't know, but I'm saying it's going to be tough. Now, this is my thing about Mike McCarthy. The only way Mike McCarthy gets fired is if he plays those teams, the majority of them, in the first 8 games of the season. You could probably see him fired.
Could you see him fired halfway through the season?
I could see it because those are tough teams.
Right.
And what if he goes 1-6? 1-7? Do you really think?
Because then you're talking about not in playoffs at that point.
Exactly. So, in essence, I mean, what do you do? I'm just saying, like, Jerry Jones ain't going to put up with not halfway through the season like that. So, I don't know. To me, it's going to be tough. I think, in my opinion, this is going to be a true testament if Jerry Jones wants to keep Mike McCarthy for the year, depending on what happens this year, because of the schedule and how hard it's going to be to go through all these teams. It's either going to make you a better team or you're going to fold.
Mm-hmm.
You know what blows my mind, Harvey?
What's up?
Is how old is Jerry Jones?
81, I think.
So, I mean, he wants to see at least a Super Bowl within his life, the rest of his life, right? I mean, you're playing with fire right now, bro. Like,
so I think, Mike, I think that's the thing about the all in. I think he's frustrated. I think he knew he had a great team, and a lot of people giving me a bunch of crap, but I'm like, hey, Mike McCarthy went 12 wins. Okay, cool, man. That's awesome. I like it. But look at the roster you had. And you couldn't even win a playoff game.
That was crazy. Yeah.
So my question to you guys, right? I got a question for y'all. If a Mike Tomlin is the head coach of this team, are they prepared to play that first week?
If Mike Tomlin was the coach of the Dallas Cowboys,
would they have a better game against Green Bay than what they did?
Oh, hell yeah.
100%.
You see my point? So that's my point, is that
it's not even that. I think that they have a better game all the way to the NFC Championship and probably win that game.
So that's my point to that, is like a lot of people go either sides. You can't argue, but you can argue, but at the end of the day, you had a talented roster and you didn't get it done.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
See, that's the point, is that
that's where I look at it a little differently. I don't see the talent on that roster that a lot of people are seeing, because Gallup was not, he was an average wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb, 100%, one of the top, in the NFL. Dak showed out. He did great. Running backs, Pollard couldn't do nothing. Defensive wise, you got Parsons. And yeah, Bland went ahead and led the league in pick sixes.
Don't forget about Ferguson. No, don't forget about Ferguson, because he had a magnificent half a season.
Ferguson, but it wasn't like, okay, I've got a superstar team. You've got a star team, but it wasn't a superstar team.
So I didn't say that though.
They had enough.
I didn't say a superstar team.
They had enough to go to the NFC Championship and actually put up points and actually make it a game to where you probably would have seen them in the Super Bowl. That's what that roster looked like to me.
So to me, that we had I think we ended up with 8 or 9 Pro Bowlers at the very end, after their people didn't show up or whatever. That's a lot.
Oh, 100%.
So I'm not saying they're super talented, but if you were to compare the Cowboys, let's say, with the Kansas City Chiefs, think about it.
They lose a tight end. I mean, they have a better receiving core.
Who does?
Dallas.
Yeah. But they got a better quarterback. Offensive line, they probably got a better offensive line. But if we're talking about the individual players, I don't think anybody's better than Tyler Smith, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Zach Martin?
Like offensive line, yeah. But then you got that defensive line, which is kind of can make trouble for that offensive line. I mean, it can go both ways. And then they have a second. Kansas City had a secondary. Yeah, it's neat out there.
They had a pretty good secondary. I'll give you that. But that secondary, even Diggs was hurt. I got it. But I'm saying that we still had probably the number one cornerback in the NFL, if, in my opinion, which should have won the MVP, by the way, most valuable player, because he broke history. But anyways, that's another time. But I'm just saying, like, it's not like it's very far apart. It's not where you're like Kansas City just blows them out of the water.
On paper, though, we're talking about
on paper. So you had the personnel to do something and you didn't get it done, is my thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I will say this. The number one problem. Okay, McCarthy has won one Super Bowl in his career.
Yep.
That's it. Mike McCarthy had probably, top 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time. 2 of them. With Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And he won one Super Bowl.
Yep.
They had the receiving core that was ridiculous.
Yep.
I think the problem, honestly, is Mike McCarthy. I do not think Mike McCarthy is not a Andy Reid style. I mean, I don't even consider Mike McCarthy in the same category, honestly, as Kyle Shanahan. I think the problem is the way the coaches are running things, and you can take that to the bank, no matter what.
but
McCarthy
but
was not the answer.
so I
There's a lot of variables there because it's not just Mike McCarthy. I mean, there's so much more than just the coaching.
But
Like
at
he
the
was
end,
what he was stating, players still got to play football.
100%.
Still got to make plays. The defense still got to stop the run.
I'm gonna say something about this, right? Because I brought this up so many times and people got upset, especially Eagles fans. They just trashed me about this, right? But I said, watch the Eagles. They're not going to be the same team, and the reason I'm saying that is because those two coaches that left, they were so good at what they did, and I don't care what anybody says. When you're a offensive coordinator, I don't care what kind of plays you call. At the end of the day, you have to have your quarterback in rhythm and playing confident. And to the point where when he's calling the plays, that quarterback is like, man, I think he's going to call this play. And that's the exact play he calls. If you have your quarterback in that kind of rhythm, because that matters, you're a whole different team. You're a whole different player. So my point to that is I said that about the Eagles. And look what happened to the Eagles. There was a lot of turmoil when it came to those coaches, right? So my point to that is it has a lot to do with coaching because if you look at Dak, did he not have a better year than he's had probably his whole entire career?
Oh yeah, I think this was
Right.
this was probably his best season ever.
So I'm not saying McCarthy's the best. He's not, I don't think. But a lot of these things that happen has to do with culture. I go back with culture. But who's in charge of culture in the locker room? The coach. So I at one point I want to blame McCarthy, but at one point I don't. But at the end of the day, who gets the wins and losses?
The coach.
Yeah.
The coach and the quarterback.
Yep.
And that's why I said there's a lot of variables to it. You can't single handedly just say it's all coach or say it's all on the players and all that. And I get it and I feel it because I am a Philly fan, right? I seen it and me and Marcus went live on week 2 and I said I wasn't a believer in Brian Johnson and the defensive coordinator. I wasn't a believer in week 2 when they were 10-1. I wasn't a believer, right? So I understand that, but at the same time, you've seen Jalen Hurts carry the team. Though you've seen him carry him in the Bills game and win it overtime. You know, with horrible DC and the offensive coordinator. You've seen him carry them on the back, and then after that, you know, we kind of got disabled and kind of got away from it. A lot of extra stuff started to happen within the organization, and you've seen the fallout, right? We never could get back on track. But we're not here to talk about all that. But I'm just here to say I understand where you're coming from, but more to it than just that. And I agree. Yeah, it is culture. It starts with the players and coach setting the tone. You know, of this is what the team is going to be. This is what we're going to look like, and all that. And you know, you once you have that identity, once you have that within the organization, you can see them go out there and play and make stuff happen. One of the issues too, I want to say, is that a lot of quarterbacks are not. What I've noticed is not adjusting to the defense. I've seen the progressions. I've seen the checkdowns. I've seen not all the reads. They're not reading all the way through. There's a lot of things that are happening there too, if it's nervousness or whatever it may be. But to one thing that you could say about Pat Mahomes is the dude makes stuff happen. Things can break down, and him and Travis Kelsey, they make a play right then and there. That's what makes Andy Reid such a great coach, is because he can take one play and say, I want to move one guy to a different direction and I want him to do something totally different. It will look like the same play that you've seen 3 times ago, but it's something totally different in the game. He'll do it. Right. And so those adjustments make a difference as well. And them being on the same page with each other offensively, and I think that if you have more quarterbacks to adjust just like that, with the reads and things like that and in game decisions, that's what wins you football games, and I think I give credit a little bit to Kyle making those 2 adjustments in those 2 games against Green Bay Packers and the Lions. I think both teams didn't make adjustments at halftime, and that's what lost in the game because they should have lost both those games.
Yeah.
Single-handedly. They were terrible, and they came out, they adjusted, and they won those games. So that's going to be the difference makers too. McCartney hasn't really shown for me him adjusting. Like he hasn't. I haven't seen him make adjustments as much as he needs to be as a coach. And you haven't seen that too as the players. Dak Prescott. You see him. Look, it's C.D. Lamb. I'm handing the ball off, and I may run, but he's not going through the progressions either and being like, okay, there's still Ferguson there, there's still Gallup out there, there's still Cooks out there. You know what I mean? And making adjustments as well. So all that to say, I mean, there's so much going into the game, and this game is becoming even more elite and a lot more quicker, that you're going to have to make quick decisions and you're going to have to make quick adjustments. Are you able to adapt to that, or you're not? And that's why you lose football games.
Right.
And
So
go ahead.
for it. Go for it.
And that's why I go back to the comment that Ram said. He said goes back, if Tomlin or Belichick had this roster, would they have gone further with the same roster? That was the comment.
Yeah. Here we've
You see what I'm
seen
saying?
we've seen what Belichick does without Tom Brady. They thought Mac Jones was the answer. Now look where Belichick's at.
No, I got you. And then they said another comment. They said take Brady away from Belichick, and what do you have? Take Roethlisberger away from Tomlin, and what do you have?
You're running into the same exact boat. It's about
But
that's where it's on the coach. I will say this.
It's a little different with Tomlin, though. I mean,
Tomlin has still been successful making the playoffs.
Think about the players that he's had and the teams he's had, and he's still making the playoffs, and he's still successful somewhat.
he's ridiculously good. Yeah.
He is. I mean, just like
He relies on his defense.
I
He's
think
like, my offense sucks. As long as I can have
he had,
defense.
like, how many players hurt? I don't know how many players hurt he had one year, and you're like, oh, they ain't making the playoffs, and all of a sudden they make the playoffs. So,
Yeah. But I want to, we got a short time, but I want to finish it up with this one last question. We know Dak is a free agent after this next year. He has an opt-out contract.
Uh-oh.
He has a dead cap of $61 million. So he's obviously going to want to get paid. You have Trey Lance sitting there. You got him for nothing. The worst case scenario, 2025, his cap is only his 5th-year option is $22.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and keep Trey, because Trey's only not even supposed to make $2 million this next season.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, you're going to keep him as a backup.
Yep.
Do you go ahead and give him that 5th-year option and basically tell Dak, you couldn't win us this entire time. Why are we going to try and give you $60 million? And just start the rebuild process all over.
So are you asking what I would do, or are you asking what you
I'm
think
asking both.
Your thoughts, yeah.
Your thoughts.
So to me,
Take away the Dak I'm in love with Dak thing. And
so the problem here is what you run into, the situation that I would have never put myself in, but I am now, is that Dak is counting for a lot of money next year. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I put myself in that situation, so I have to extend Dak. I have to.
Damn.
I have to, because he's put me in that situation. Number one, I can't trade him because it's in the clause, right? And he's probably not going to want to get traded. And who's going to give? Who do you really think? Do you think somebody would trade for Dak?
Hell no.
But see, that's the catch. He has an opt out after this next year. He's gonna want to get paid, because after this, I'm looking at the contract right here.
No, his last year is this next year. He's gone. But what I'm saying is, I put myself in that situation. I got it. I have to extend him. I have no choice.
Yeah, see,
I have to extend him. So I have to extend him. But for me, I can only extend you for 3 years, and it's not going to be at 60 million. So that's my scenario. And to me, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it on Dak's table, right? I'm going to say, look, we need to build around you. We need a lot of holes we need to fill. And here's $35 million for 3 years. and it's going to be incentive heavy.
All
Mm.
right, I'm.
And I leave it at that.
You're
If
gonna
he
have
takes
to.
it, if he doesn't, if he counters, that's my offer. And if you don't do that, then we can look for a trade. You find a suitor, and we'll try to figure it out. And then Trey Lance is my quarterback. Or guess what I'm doing in the draft?
Moving up.
I'm probably going to move up. Now, that all has to do with Will McClay too. Will, is there somebody out there that can play ball at the quarterback position in Dallas that we can go get and potentially get probably in the top 10? Because I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the kid from LSU. He's
Oh,
I like
I
him.
we went
So
live, with all that, and I always said Jaden Daniels is probably the best quarterback in the draft this year.
yeah, that's what I would do. If Dak takes that or not, that's up to him. But that would be my scenario.
All right, all right. Well, hey, that's gonna wrap us up here tonight, guys. We're running out of time, but Javier, again, we want to thank you for your insight. We want to thank you for your,
Man, yeah. I
and
love it.
just everything, man. We appreciate you. Everyone that was chiming in, thank you guys for hopping on. I know it's more than likely it's coming off of the Cowboy Cast. Um, you know, you guys catch us out on replay. Whoever's watching the replay, give the Cowboy Cast a follow, East and West. Be looking forward to getting these guys on again on another show. As we get close to the
Hey,
draft.
you guys might have to come on our show.
Hey, well, I'm down anytime, man.
I'll let you guys
I'm free any night except Wednesdays, just because I got a class.
got it.
So, but yeah, I'm ready to go. So I'm always willing to talk sports.
No,
So,
hey, it was a pleasure. Hey, I know Mike's always on, man. He's always commenting, but no, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. It was fun. I like the questions, man. You guys kept me on my toes, so I appreciate it, man. I'm super blessed. Appreciate it.
all right. Thank you guys. Don't forget, hit the like, follow, share, do everything. Cowboy Cast, Sports Lounge on that. Catch y'all later. Y'all have a good night. Peace out.